Iran and Israel are always on the brink of war. They exchange threats, missile strikes, and there's tons of proxy fighting going on. But if these two countries hate each other so much, why don't they just get it over with and fight it out once and for all? Wouldn't that settle things? Well, maybe. But there are some pretty good reasons why they haven't gone to war yet, and why they won't anytime soon. So here's the lowdown on what's really going on between these two. Welcome to my channel. First off, let me address something. What I'm about to tell you isn't a balanced, neutral analysis. This video is gonna focus specifically on the conflict between the Iranian government and the State of Israel. That's it. So let's dive right in. First up, we got ideological and religious conflict. Iran's government, which took over in 1979, is an Islamic theocracy. That means that religious leaders, not elected officials, have supreme power. This particular brand of Islam is called Twelver Shiism. Now, it's not really important for you to understand the differences between the various types of Islam, but it is important to know that in Shiite Islam, the line between religion and politics is super blurry. The leader of the country is also the leader of the religion, and the laws of the religion are the laws of the country. In short, Shiite Islam is super political and politics is super religious. Now, this is important because since 1979, Iran's government has seen the existence of the State of Israel as a political, religious, and even personal insult. They believe that the land of Israel, or what Jews call Eretz Israel, rightfully belongs to Muslims, and that Israel's occupation of that land is illegal. They also believe that the return of the Jewish people to that land, which started at the end of the 1800s and resulted in the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, was orchestrated by a sinister force called the Zionist movement, which seeks to control the entire world. Okay, that last part isn't too important, but the first two definitely are. So when Iran's leaders say things like death to Israel or that Israel must be wiped off the map, they're not just saying those things to make themselves look tough. They genuinely believe that Israel's presence is a corruption of Islam and that they have a religious duty to destroy it. Israel obviously doesn't take this very well. They see any talk of destroying their country as a legitimate threat, and any group that talks about destroying Israel is considered an enemy of the state. Since Iran constantly calls for the destruction of Israel, Israel naturally sees Iran as a direct threat to its existence. But that's not all. Iran also supports several groups who have carried out attacks against Israel. Two of the most notorious are Hezbollah and Hamas. Hezbollah is a Shiite Islamist political party and militant group based in Lebanon. They were founded in 1982 after Israel invaded Lebanon. According to Hezbollah, their name, which means Party of God in Arabic, is derived from the verse in the Quran. This day I have made mankind into a nation of peoples, so that they may get to know one another. Surely the most noble of you in the sight of God is the most righteous among you. Hezbollah is one of Iran's most important allies in the region. They have tens of thousands of members and are heavily armed with rockets, missiles, and even attack drones. Over the years, Hezbollah has attacked Israel in several wars and countless smaller engagements. In recent years, they've dug tunnels under the Israel-Lebanon border, built to carry commandos and weapons. They've launched missiles at every part of Israel from underground bunkers. They've used civilians as human shields and attacked Israeli soldiers and civilians alike. They've even conducted suicide bombings inside Israel. Hamas is similar to Hezbollah in that it has a Sunni Islamist organization with both political and militant wings. It was founded in 1987 during the First Intifada, or uprising against Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory. Hamas says its name comes from the verse in the Quran, and established prayer because the first matter in Islam is prayer. Hamas, which means zeal or enthusiasm, refers to the enthusiasm that Muslims should have for Islam. Like Hezbollah, Hamas believes that the establishment of the State of Israel is illegal, and that all Palestinians living under Israeli rule should rise up and drive them out. Since 1987, Hamas has fought multiple wars against Israel and again, countless smaller engagements. They've launched thousands of missiles and rockets from Gaza into every inch of Israel. They've used civilians as human shields and targeted Israeli soldiers and civilians alike. In addition to these two groups, Iran also supports a variety of smaller militias across the region, like Hezbollah, Alawites in Syria, Iraqi Shiite militias, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. All of these groups have attacked Israel. Naturally, Israel sees Iran's arming and funding of these groups as acts of war by proxy. Okay, now let's move on to point no. 3. Iran has been working on developing nuclear technology since the 1950s. Now Iran claims that this is for peaceful energy production and not for developing a nuclear weapon, but Israel and a lot of Western countries aren't buying it. Israel has carried out airstrikes against Iranian nuclear sites on Iranian soil and within Syria. Sometimes they've done this alone. Other times they've worked with the US and other allies. Some of these missions have been overt, meaning that Israel has taken responsibility for them. Others have been covert, meaning that Israel hasn't said anything, but everybody knows that they did it. One famous example of a covert strike was Operation Orchard in 2007. Israel bombed a site near the Syrian city of Tartus. Everybody assumed that it was a nuclear reactor being built with Iranian help. Israel didn't say anything for decades, but eventually some details came out. If Iran gets the bomb, it will have a devastating effect on the region. Iran could use it to wipe out Israel. Israel could feel compelled to strike Iran with their own nuclear weapons, possibly sparking a broader nuclear war. Other countries in the region like Saudi Arabia might feel compelled to develop their own nuclear weapons to balance against Iranian and Israeli nuclear capabilities. All in all, things would get pretty crazy. So Israel has acted preemptively to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. And as long as Israel sees Iran's nuclear program as a threat, Iran can expect more attacks like this. Next up, we got power struggle in the Middle East. Both Iran and Israel want to be the dominant power in the Middle East. Israel sees itself as the one true democracy in a sea of autocracies and theocracies and wants to promote democracy throughout the region. Iran, on the other hand, wants to promote Shiite Islam and become the standard bearer of the Islamic world. They see their revolution in 1979 as a model for other countries to follow. Since 1948, Israel has formed close ties with the United States and some Arab countries like Egypt, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates. These ties have brought a lot of economic and military aid to Israel, making it the third most powerful military in the world behind the U.S. and China. Iran, meanwhile, has aligned itself with countries like Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Iran has also spearheaded the creation of the Islamic Resistance, a broad term that refers to the various Shiite militias and militant groups across the region. So as you can probably see, Iran and Israel don't exactly see eye to eye on a lot of things. They support opposing sides in many conflicts like in Syria, where Iran supports Bashar al-Assad and Israel supports various rebel groups. They also compete for influence among various Arab countries. For example, the UAE was a long-time ally of Iran until Israel came along. Now the two countries are negotiating a peace deal. As you can see, Iran and Israel's interests are constantly at odds and both sides want to be the dominant power in the region. We're at a point now where no diplomatic relations exist between Iran and Israel. Iran doesn't recognize Israel as a country and Israel considers Iran its biggest threat. This means that the two countries don't talk to each other except through the media. There are no negotiations, no embassies, no ambassadors. The only communication that goes on between them is threats, accusations, and sometimes cyber attacks. So that brings us to the final question: why don't they just go to war? Why do they keep threatening each other when they obviously hate each other so much? Well, the simple answer is they do want to destroy each other, but not at the risk of destroying themselves in the process. Let me explain. Both Iran and Israel have what's called a preemptive nuclear capability. This means that the other country would be almost totally destroyed if they started a major war. Iran knows that if it attacks Israel, it would be completely wiped off the map in a matter of hours. Israel knows that if it attacks Iran, it would be completely wiped off the map in a matter of days. Even if they wanted to wipe each other out, Neither one could do it without being destroyed in the process. A major war between these two countries would involve ballistic missiles flying back and forth, thousands of lives lost, billions of dollars in property damage. It would also likely draw in other countries like the US and the rest of the Gulf Cooperation Council, leading to an even greater loss of life and destruction. Not to mention it would turn the region into a radioactive wasteland for generations. Now, I am not saying that things couldn't spiral out of control and a major war could break out tomorrow. I am just saying that neither side would start a major war unless they were absolutely sure that they could win it. Even small attacks or accidents could lead to retaliations, which could lead to further escalations. Just look at the war between Russia and Ukraine. Who knows? Maybe somebody's watching this and it'll happen while they're watching it. But the fact that they haven't gone to war yet is a good sign that they don't want to destroy each other. Or maybe they're just too scared. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.